In this fast, moving world, the definition of beauty changes with trends, but true elegance, the kind that doesn't fade with time or fashion, comes from within. A stunning woman is not simply someone who captivates the eyes. She is the one who awakens the soul. We live in a time where the world trains us to focus outward. The brightness of screens, the sharpness of appearances, the loudness of trends, all try to tell us what beauty is, how we should look, how we should be seen. Yet, if you pause and listen, not with your ears, but with your awareness, you will feel the truth echoing within. The most stunning presence is not the one that shines with makeup, fashion, or a perfect smile. It is the one that radiates silently from within. There are women whose faces you may forget, but their energy stays with you. The memory of how calm they made you feel, how just being near them brought stillness to your thoughts. This is the type of beauty the eyes alone cannot grasp. It is the type of beauty the heart recognizes. It does not compete. It does not beg for likes or followers. It exists like the warmth of the sun, not asking to be seen, but impossible to ignore. A stunning woman knows the difference between being noticed and being remembered, between decoration and depth. She realizes that outer appearance, though it can charm the senses, fades, the skin changes. The hair turns, the body transforms with time. What remains untouched by age is presence. Presence cannot be painted on or worn like a dress. Presence is cultivated. She cultivates it through awareness, through silence, through the hard, quiet work of learning who she really is when no one else is watching. She has spent time with her wounds, listened to her fears, and softened her judgments. She has faced the mirror, not the physical one, but the internal one, and dared to meet the version of herself that hides beneath the surface. And in doing so, she has discovered that true elegance is not in what she wears, but in how she walks through life, with intention, with respect for herself, and with compassion for others. When she enters a room, she does not seek to dominate or impress. She does not demand attention. She simply is, and that being, that complete self-contained energy, is what pulls the atmosphere toward her, not because she wants it, because she doesn't need it. That lack of need is what makes her so magnetic. Her posture is not built from pride but from peace. She does not carry herself to appear above others, but to remain balanced within herself. Her gaze is steady. Her words are few but thoughtful. She listens not just to respond, but to understand. And in her silence there is a loudness, a quiet authority that comes not from position or praise, but from presence. People may not always know how to explain her impact, but they feel it. They feel safer, calmer, more grounded around her. This is the invisible grace of inner beauty. Outer appearance can be stolen, mimicked, copied, but presence is original. It is your fingerprint of the soul. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be bought. It is earned, breath by breath, thought by thought, choice by choice. There is a stillness within such a woman that reflects years of self-mastery. She has learned to be comfortable in her own company. She does not dress to impress, but to express. She is not enslaved by trends, because she is rooted in truth. Her truth, and this gives her a radiance that no filter can create. Many chase the idea of beauty outside of themselves, but the stunning woman has stopped running. She sits quietly at the center of her own being and lets her essence do the work. She knows outer looks may catch a glance, but only presence holds attention. It is not the curve of her body, but the curve of her mind, the softness of her spirit, the integrity in her actions that leave an impression. To be stunning in this way does not require wealth, fame, or perfection. It requires honesty, discipline, stillness, and love, a deep love for oneself, not the surface self, but the soul underneath, and from that depth, beauty rises, not quickly, not loudly, but surely. Like a lotus from mud, like the moon from darkness, like grace from struggle. In a world that tells women to be visible, a stunning woman chooses to be present, and that presence is unforgettable. There is a quiet strength in the woman who knows herself, not in fragments, not through the eyes of others, but wholly and truthfully. She is not perfect, nor does she try to be. Instead, she is aware. Aware of her shadows, her triggers, her light, and her contradictions. This self-awareness is not loud. It is not worn like a badge. It is felt. It is the grounding force behind every word she speaks, every step she takes, and every boundary she sets. A woman rooted in self-awareness is like a tree with deep roots. While others are shaken by every storm, she sways but does not fall. She does not crumble under criticism because she has already examined herself with honesty. She does not get lost in praise because she knows it is only a reflection, never the full truth. She listens, but she is not defined by opinions. She considers, but she is not driven by approval. She stands in the quiet knowing of who she is, even when no one else sees it. To become self-aware is not an instant revelation. It is a path, a slow unfolding, a gentle burning away of illusion. It requires looking inwards, often when it's most uncomfortable. She has dared to sit in silence when the world told her to stay busy. She has dared to ask herself difficult questions when others chose distraction. She has met the parts of herself that are hard to love, and she chose not to run away. That is where her power comes from, not from image, but from intimacy with her own being. Self-awareness is not about being constantly confident. It is about being honest. She knows when she is slipping into old patterns. She catches herself before blame becomes habit. She owns her emotions without projecting them. She understands that healing is not linear and growth is not always visible. Still, she chooses it every day, even on the hard ones. A self-aware woman does not pretend to have it all together. But she is deeply connected to herself. When she speaks, her words come from reflection, not reaction. When she loves, she does so intentionally, not to fill a void, but to share her fullness. When she is hurt, she feels it completely, but she does not let the wound speak for her. Her maturity is emotional, her power is internal. This woman does not search for herself in others. She has already found herself, so she is not easily manipulated. She does not fall for empty promises or superficial games. She sees clearly, not just what people show, but what they hide, not with judgment, but with understanding. Her clarity is not cold. It is compassionate. Because she knows herself, she allows others to be themselves. That is why people feel safe in her presence, not because she fixes them, but because she does not try to. She recognizes that knowing oneself is not a destination, but a daily practice. She pays attention to her thoughts, the way her body reacts, the subtle signs of resistance or alignment. She observes herself without attachment, like a silent witness, and from this inner observation comes wisdom, the kind of wisdom that cannot be learned from books or borrowed from others, the kind that must be lived, felt, endured. This awareness does not make her invincible, but it makes her intentional. She chooses her battles, she chooses her boundaries, she chooses her peace over drama, her silence over noise, her truth over comfort. And even when she makes mistakes, and she does, she learns from them. She doesn't run from failure. She mines it for insight. Rooted in self-awareness, this woman doesn't need to be the loudest voice in the room. Her energy speaks first. Her presence does not beg to be noticed. It reminds others of their own depth, and though she may not always be understood, she is always authentic. This is her secret, not in being more, doing more, or proving more, but in knowing deeply who she is, and being loyal to that truth. That is the quiet, unwavering power of a woman who is rooted in self-awareness. There is a unique kind of power in a woman who remains calm when the world around her begins to fall apart. Not because she is numb, not because she is detached, but because she has trained her heart to stay soft while her mind stays clear. This is not a gift she was born with. It is a strength she earned through struggle, through pain, through walking alone when no one else understood her silence. In all its forms, conflict, loss, failure, heartbreak, reveals the truth of who we are. It strips away the surface and exposes what lies beneath. In those moments, when the mask of control shatters, most people panic. They react, shout, blame, run, or collapse. But the woman who carries grace in chaos does not reach outward for answers. She turns inward. This woman has walked through storms before. She has stood in the middle of emotional earthquakes and realized that no one was coming to save her. And instead of letting that break her, she used it to discover her own center. Now, when everything starts to shake, she doesn't run. She breathes, she pauses, she observes. This pause is not weakness. It is strength in its highest form, because it takes courage to be still when everything in you wants to react. She does not confuse movement with progress. She knows that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is wait. Let the storm rage, let the dust settle, then move, calmly, clearly, purposefully. Grace in chaos means not letting outside disorder create inner confusion. It means staying rooted in your values, even when you are tempted to act out of fear. It means choosing integrity when anger whispers revenge. It means responding with clarity instead of reacting with emotion. And this is not easy, but this is mastery. Such a woman does not deny the chaos. She acknowledges it fully. She feels the tension, the discomfort, the uncertainty, but she does not become it. She allows space between her emotions and her actions. That space is where her power lies. It's the difference between reacting in the heat of a moment and responding with the wisdom of experience. She has learned that her peace is not the absence of problems. It is the ability to remain undisturbed within them. Not because she has everything figured out, but because she trusts herself. She trusts that no matter what the world throws at her, she has the tools to face it. And if she doesn't, she trusts that she will learn. This kind of grace is not passive. It does not mean being quiet when your boundaries are crossed or accepting injustice. On the contrary, it means standing firm without losing your soul. It means raising your voice without raising your rage. It means saying no without needing to explain, defend, or shout. Grace in chaos also shows in how she treats others. She knows that everyone is carrying something unseen, so even when people act out, she doesn't immediately return fire. She listens, not because she accepts disrespect, but because she understands pain. That understanding doesn't make her weak, it makes her wise, and her wisdom isn't loud. It's not a performance, it is deeply lived. She carries a sacred stillness, a rare steadiness that comes from facing her own chaos and learning to breathe through it. She's been through nights that seemed endless, decisions that tore her apart, and moments when she thought she wouldn't make it. But she did, and every time she made it through, she became more silent, more grounded, more unshakable. Chaos does not scare her. It reminds her of who she is. It reminds her of her ability to remain soft in a world that tries to harden her. It reminds her that she does not need to control the storm. She only needs to remain anchored in herself. And when others watch her move through turmoil with such grace, they begin to feel it too. She becomes a mirror reminding people of their own potential to stay calm, to choose presence over panic, to hold themselves together even when everything is falling apart. That is the quiet miracle of grace in chaos. It doesn't just protect her, it elevates everyone around her. There is a rare and sacred strength that does not come from loudness, speed, or force. It does not announce itself, nor does it need validation. This strength lives in stillness, in silence, in presence. It is the kind of strength that a stunning woman carries without trying, the kind that is often misunderstood because the world has taught us that strength must be shown through noise, domination, or control. But true strength is not always visible. Sometimes it is the ability to be unmoved when others are shaken. Sometimes it is the decision to pause when you are provoked. Sometimes it is sitting with your feelings instead of fleeing from them. It is easy to speak quickly, act fast, and react emotionally, but it takes a deeper kind of power to remain still, to let the waves rise and fall within you, without allowing them to drown your clarity. The one who has cultivated strength in stillness knows that her energy is sacred. She does not throw it into chaos. She does not argue to prove her worth or raise her voice to feel heard. She has learned that the quietest presence in the room can often be the most commanding. Not because she seeks control, but because she does not seek approval. Her power is not about being right. It is about being real. Stillness is not the absence of motion. It is the presence of awareness. It is the full attention to the present moment without being ruled by the past or driven by fear of the future. In this stillness, she observes herself, her thoughts, her emotions, her urges. She watches without judgment. And in doing so, she gains mastery over herself. This kind of woman has sat with her discomforts. She has not run from the ache inside. She has let herself break open without rushing to fix what was never broken. She understands that healing does not always require doing. Sometimes it requires just being, just breathing, just existing with what is, and that is what gives her depth. People may try to test her stillness. They may poke, provoke, push, because stillness threatens the unstable, but she does not waver. She does not meet fire with fire. She meets it with presence, with peace, and that peace is not passive. It is disciplined. It is the result of choosing, again and again, not to let the outside world dictate her inner world. She knows that storms are part of life, but she also knows that no storm lasts forever, so she does not panic when winds rise. She becomes the eye of the storm, still, focused, aware, and in her stillness she finds the strength to choose wisely, to act, not react, to build, not destroy, to breathe, not break. Stillness is her sanctuary. It is where she returns to recharge. While the world celebrates busyness, she honors balance. While others chase noise, she listens inward. She walks slower, thinks deeper, speaks less. But each step, each thought, each word is filled with intention. There is no rush, there is no desperation, only presence, and in this presence she becomes magnetic. People are drawn to her calm because they are starving for peace. They are tired of the noise, the conflict, the constant motion. When they are around her, they feel the possibility of another way, a way of stillness, clarity, and grounded power, but her stillness is not for show. It is her foundation. It is how she maintains her alignment. When she feels overwhelmed, she does not lash out. She withdraws into stillness to recalibrate. When she feels uncertain, she does not guess. She sits with the uncertainty until clarity arises. She trusts the wisdom that only silence can reveal. She has learned that stillness is not inactivity, it is preparation, it is reflection, it is strength gathering itself before movement, like the archer who holds the bow steady before release, like the ocean that appears calm on the surface while holding immense force beneath. This woman does not fear stillness. She embraces it because she knows it is not emptiness. It is presence, and presence is power. Not the kind that dominates others, but the kind that allows her to walk through the world with quiet confidence, unshaken by distraction, and fully anchored in herself. This is the strength that cannot be taken, stolen, or shaken. The strength of stillness, the strength of knowing that silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. There is a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge can be gained from books, from teachers, from listening and learning. But wisdom, true wisdom, can only come through experience. It is carved into the soul, often through difficulty, sometimes through heartbreak, always through deep reflection. A stunning woman is not wise because she has been spared from pain. She is wise because she has walked through it, faced it, and chosen to learn from it instead of allowing it to define her. She does not speak from theory. She speaks from truth. Truth she earned. Truth she discovered not in comfort, but in struggle. Life has tested her. Life has bent her, cracked her open, stripped her of illusions she once thought were part of who she was. But through all of it, she remained open, not bitter, not hardened. That openness is what transformed her pain into wisdom. When others see only failure, she sees instruction. Where others see rejection, she sees redirection. She has come to understand that life doesn't punish, it teaches, and sometimes the lessons come wrapped in loss, delay, or loneliness. But she no longer fights them. She meets each lesson with the curiosity of someone who knows that nothing is wasted, not even suffering. This wisdom she carries doesn't come in the form of advice or clever phrases. It's in how she moves through the world. It's in her patience when others rush. It's in her calm when others panic. It's in her compassion when others judge, because she remembers when she too was impatient, reactive, or critical. And she doesn't shame herself for those versions of who she was. She honors them. They were part of the journey. A wise woman does not claim to know everything. In fact, she is the first to admit that she is always learning. Her wisdom lies not in her certainty but in her humility. She understands that every person she meets, every challenge she faces, every emotion she feels, each holds a message, and she is willing to listen. She has made mistakes, many, but she doesn't hide from them. She studies them. She dissects her patterns, her choices, her reactions, not with self-punishment, but with self-inquiry. She asks, what was I seeking when I made that decision? What wound was I trying to protect? What truth did I avoid? And in doing so, she sees clearly, not just what happened, but why. That is where her wisdom lives, in her ability to turn inward again and again, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. She has realized that running from pain only prolongs it, but facing it gently and with honesty turns it into a guide. Now pain does not scare her, because she knows that every emotional storm brings her closer to truth. Truth about herself, about others, about life. She no longer seeks to avoid difficulty. She seeks to grow through it. That is the quiet revolution of wisdom. It does not seek escape, it seeks evolution. Her wisdom also allows her to hold space for others. She does not rush to fix, advise, or rescue. She listens. She holds presence because she remembers how powerful it was to be seen, to be heard without judgment. Her past experiences have made her more human, not more perfect, but more present. She doesn't offer quick answers because she knows each person must walk their own path, but she offers something deeper: perspective, patience, and peace. Wisdom has softened her, not made her weak. Soften, because strength without softness becomes cold, but strength with wisdom becomes grace. She no longer lives to impress. She lives to express, not to prove who she is, but to live in alignment with what she has learned. Her wisdom shows in how she treats people when she gains nothing from them, in how she forgives not to forget but to free herself, in how she pauses before speaking, knowing that words carry weight and can heal or harm. This woman may not have had an easy life, but she has lived it deeply, and that depth has given her a quiet radiance, the kind that draws others near, not for her charm, but for her clarity. She knows that time does not make a person wise. Reflection does, courage does, willingness to learn from every high and every low does, and that is why her wisdom runs deep, not just in her mind, but in her presence, in her choices, and in the quiet way she walks through life, never forgetting what it has taught her. There comes a moment in every woman's journey when she must make a choice, continue molding herself to fit into what others expect, or begin walking the path of her own truth. The stunning woman does not seek to be approved. She seeks to be aligned, and that difference is what sets her apart. She no longer chases validation because she has learned how unstable it is, how quickly it shifts, how easily it disappears. She understands that approval is conditional. It is often based on how well she conforms, how pleasing she appears, how silent she remains, but alignment, on the other hand, is internal, it is steady, it does not waver with opinions, it requires courage, honesty, and deep self-trust. This woman has grown tired of the roles others tried to assign her. She has seen how easy it is to lose yourself in trying to please everyone. At some point, she asked herself, what happens if I stop performing? Who am I when I am no longer trying to be liked, accepted, or understood? And the answer wasn't instant, but it was honest. It led her inward. She stopped trying to belong to people who didn't see her. She stopped shrinking herself to avoid being too much or too little. She no longer diluted her truth to keep others comfortable. She understood that the cost of approval was often her authenticity, and that price was too high. Now, she lives in alignment with what feels right, not what looks right. Her values guide her more than external praise. Her decisions come from a deep knowing, not from fear of rejection. And because of this, her life feels lighter. Clearer, more grounded. She doesn't say yes when she means no. She doesn't smile to hide her discomfort. She has chosen integrity over image. Living in alignment is not always easy. It often means standing alone. It means disappointing others who expected her to act a certain way, speak a certain way, live a certain way, but she has made peace with that, because she would rather be at peace with herself than in pieces trying to satisfy the world. This woman trusts her inner voice more than the noise outside, and because of that, she moves differently. She listens to her body, her intuition, the subtle signals that most ignore. She's not obsessed with appearing successful. She's committed to feeling aligned. Her life may not look extraordinary to others, but it feels deeply fulfilling to her. That is enough. She has realized that when you stop needing approval, you free yourself. You begin to make choices not out of fear, but from clarity. You start creating, speaking, acting in ways that reflect your essence, not your conditioning. She no longer compromises her boundaries just to be seen as kind. She no longer betrays her needs to avoid guilt. She knows that being true to herself is the greatest form of respect, not just for her, but for everyone around her, because when she is aligned, she is more present, more honest, more alive. People may not always agree with her, but they feel her authenticity. And authenticity, even when uncomfortable, is magnetic, it's rare, it's refreshing. It reminds others of their own inner compass, the one they've been taught to ignore. This woman doesn't walk a path paved by society. She creates her own rhythm, her own pace. She no longer needs to be the loudest, the most liked, the most followed. She just needs to be real. Her alignment speaks louder than any approval ever could. Even in relationships, she does not perform to keep love. She shows up as she is, without masks, and if she is accepted, it is for who she truly is, not who she pretends to be. That, to her, is real connection. Anything less feels hollow. She has redefined success, not as applause, awards, or admiration, but as inner harmony, waking up and feeling clear, saying no without guilt, saying yes with joy, walking away when her spirit is unsettled, staying only where her soul feels seen. This kind of woman cannot be controlled through praise or criticism. She is not fragile, but she is sensitive to energy, to truth, to the invisible threads that pull her in or push her away. And she listens to those threads. She trusts them, because in the end, the stunning woman knows this. Approval fades, trends change, opinions shift, but alignment lasts. It keeps you steady. It keeps you honest, and most importantly, it keeps you whole. There is a difference between giving from emptiness and giving from fullness. A stunning woman knows the power of this difference. She does not give to be accepted. She gives because she has already accepted herself. She does not offer love to fill a void or silence a fear. She offers it because she has first poured it into her own being, and now it overflows. To be whole before giving is not selfish, it is sacred. This woman has learned, often the hard way, that giving without being rooted in her own worth only leads to depletion. She remembers the times she gave too much, her time, her energy, her heart, to people or places that were not ready to receive it, or worse, had no intention of valuing it. She does not blame them. She looks inward and understands. When she was unsure of herself, she gave pieces away, hoping someone else would complete the puzzle. But that kind of love is fragile. It leans. It depends. It exhausts. She knew she had to shift. She stopped searching for wholeness in another's gaze and began discovering it in solitude, in silence, in self-awareness. She stopped waiting to be chosen and began choosing herself every single day. This journey wasn't easy. There were moments of loneliness that felt endless, questions that had no answers, and a quiet ache she had to sit with without distraction. But in those moments, she found treasures, clarity, strength, stillness. She realized that being alone did not mean being empty. In fact, that space gave her room to finally see herself clearly, without the distortion of external expectations. Now, when she gives love, she does not lose herself in the process. She does not need her love to be returned in a specific way to feel worthy. She gives because she chooses to, not out of obligation or fear, but out of abundance. Her love is not desperate. It is not noisy. It does not try to prove anything. It is quiet, clear, powerful. This wholeness gives her freedom, freedom to walk away from what doesn't serve her, freedom to say no without guilt, freedom to receive without suspicion. She no longer feels the need to overextend herself just to feel valued. She knows that her worth is not based on how much she sacrifices, but on how much she honors herself. When she is in a relationship, romantic, platonic, or otherwise, she brings a full presence. She does not seek to be completed, and she does not try to complete another. She respects the individuality of both people. She knows that true connection is not about merging into one, but about walking side by side as two whole beings, choosing each other without dependency. She offers her love as a gift, not a transaction. There are no hidden demands in her giving, no silent expectations waiting to be met. That's what makes her presence so healing. It's not heavy. There's no pressure. There's just space, warmth, and truth. She is not trying to fix, rescue, or change anyone. She knows that her only responsibility is to remain aligned with her own truth. She also gives to herself first. This is not ego, it is wisdom. She rests when she is tired. She asks for help when she needs it. She does not wait for someone to offer her kindness. She offers it to herself. She does not pour from an empty cup, nor does she wear depletion as a badge of honor. She chooses peace over performance. People can feel this difference. When they encounter her, they sense that she is not asking to be filled. She is not waiting to be saved. She has already done the work. She has met her shadows, faced her pain, and embraced her wholeness. So what she gives comes from a deep reservoir of self-understanding. It is gentle but powerful, quiet but transformative. She knows that to love well is to love from fullness. That real love is not needy, but nourishing. That the best kind of giving is when your soul is already full, not when you are hoping someone else will give you what you refuse to give yourself. This woman does not measure her worth by how much she gives others. She measures it by how faithfully she stays connected to her own heart, and from that connection, everything she gives becomes a reflection of her wholeness, not her wounds.